Okay, folks, good morning. Happy Saturday. Well, we're kind of in between things right now. And really, the next thing I probably would do is take photographs. Of what we just completed. Well, we got to get them out of this area and see what we can work on. Because what I would normally do next is spray some things black. I'm not going to crank out the compressor and wake everybody up. And it's not that loud, but I live with people that hear everything. So, and not including me. Although I'd probably hear the compressor because it's at least while it would fill, even though it's in the garage. And these things are filthy. See if I can get away with doing this. Hand sanitizer and glasses. I've never done that before. Well, we're going to put these things away. And then we're going to work on something totally different for a couple hours. Which probably should be more than enough time. Not something totally different. Totally different would be like, working on a submarine or something like that. All right, so we've got a deuce and a half. 1, 2, 3 US half tracks. One, 2, 3 Shermans. They don't fit in here. Here's the Sherman 105. Let's do this. I think if we do it this way, we'll be able to stack them. Just to get them out of this area. It's kind of nice to be like, bam, you got 14 new vehicles. Have a howitzer motor carriage. M8 armored car. M20 armored car. Well, they're not gonna fit here. They're not gonna fit here. Let's get them out of this area. Get on out of here. Clear the deck. Here's the Tamiya cutters. They're right over here the whole time. So I did an inventory of all the projects yesterday. I don't know if you guys caught that. Probably didn't. It's probably boring. Late on a Friday evening. Late-ish. On a Friday evening. And I have 89 vehicles to do. Not including the 20 or so T34 variants that I have. So I have about definitely over 100 vehicles. There's no doubt about it. So I'm not running out of stuff anytime soon. Not anytime soon. As a matter of fact, I have so many vehicles to do, I got a lot more Tufts to get. And we finished building our A13 yesterday from SS model. And it has superb detail. It's just really, 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 really brittle. So be curious to see how it paints up. I'm sure it'll be fine. That's really what I want to work on. But that involves cranking out the airbrush. Cranking up the airbrush. I'm not ready to do that this moment. So let's clean this area a little bit and then work on something that I started a long time ago. And it's not a very good model. And maybe we can make it look good after all. Here's to hoping. I figure if anybody can do it, I can do it. Marcus, good morning. Just catching up last night's session. You missed it. Yep. 89 vehicles. Fuck it, I'll do a recap. I don't care. For the US, I have not much. They're all right here. This this thing is so heavy. It's just a dinky Matchbox from 1998. M4A3 76. And then 2 of the mortar carrying half tracks. That's all I got left for the Americans. That I own. I got these Soviet trucks I should finish up. They just need tufts put on them. Yeah, I guess that's what we'll do next. We don't have much left to do. We can get them the hell out of here. 6 of the PSC Soviet trucks. Yeah, the problem is I need to either spray black or do something, and I don't want to paint it if I can spray it. So we're gonna take this guy and spray this one out. Maybe spray the KVs or something like that. I haven't decided yet what we're gonna do next, but we're you know what, we can work on this while this next stage is drying. Let's put these guys off to the side because I'm going to need some drying time for this. And the vehicle that I have, well, let me go through. I said I was going to see. I'm all over the place. So yeah, I have 89 vehicles, not including the slew of T-34s that I have to do, and I probably have, I don't know, 20 of them between the 76 variants from Hinchcliffe. And I believe that's who they're from, and some SHQ T-34-85s. So probably 20 of them between those two. So I have over 100 vehicles to do. America's just those 3. So other Soviet stuff, I have a couple of OT-133s. I have a T-26 by Mini Irons. It's funny, I didn't write that one down. I just thought about that. Oh, now I'm 90 vehicles. This is a T-26 Mini Irons, which is a Spanish company. Can't you tell by the non-Spanish name? 2 OT-133s and 2 T-26M model 1939s. Both of those, I have 2 of each. Both of those kits are that I bought really inexpensive, and they're a royal pain in the butt to put together. I'm not saying I'm not going to be able to. I know I'm going to. They just take forever to build. Mainly due to the photo etch fenders. That's probably the biggest pain in the butt. I have 4 KV1s that can be converted into KV2s as well. They came with extra turrets from Pegasus. I have 2 more T-28s in 1/87 scale and 4 more T-35s in 1/87 scale. 2 T-34 Model 43s with a cupola from Eschi. 2 Pegasus JS2s, a JS2 from BP Cast, a T-34-85 from Eastern Express that's in really bad shape, the White Scout car from Eschi, and 3 Su-76s from Plastic Soldier Company. And these Soviet trucks, if you don't count them as finished, which, we should be able to finish them soon. That's all the Soviets. Brits, A-13, A sad Bren Carrier from BP Cast. Very, very sad. An M4A4 from Frontline. It's terrible. It's just really, really bad. The Firefly from Britannia that I need to refurb. Yes, I know, it's 6 o'clock. Oh, I feel like a ballerina. You don't want to put something that's going to scare the fuck out of you. And I'm not scared of ballerinas yet. I got to be violated by one before I'm scared of them. So there's still time. The got to refurb the Britannia one, which I technically finished, but it's glossy and shit like that. The Firefly from Matchbox, a Sherman Crab from Britannia, and what I'm going to work on next is this Archer. This Archer is a pizza crap from BP Cast, but we'll see if we can get this thing looking good. I'm just looking at it, I'm like, okay, I got to do something that's already primed black, you know. So anyhow, I think this is what I'm going to work on while I'm waiting for those guys to be ready, and then a Hago, a Japanese Hago. The litany of Germans. All this stuff is Germans. As many vehicles as figures? I've got more figures than vehicles to do. I've just been doing figures for 18 fucking years. And I like how all my figures turned out, but I want to mix it up a little bit, you know? Mr. Ben, welcome. Ben, you need a photo instead of a B. Same thing goes for you, Marcus. Master M. Oh my God. And I have a lot of junk. I have junk that, you know, is just really old. But it doesn't matter. It's going to paint up really well. I'm not even going to go into the Germans. I have an absurd amount of Germans. But it's time to paint something other than the bloody Germans. And, you know, most of these things I either got off the estate sale, which I don't have a choice of what the guy has there, or I picked them up way back when because that's what they happen to have in the store. You know? When I have a choice, I order unique things like that. I'm really looking forward to doing this. Really looking forward to doing this. Maybe I'll hate how it turns out and it'll keep me from getting any more desert vehicles for the short term, but I highly doubt that's going to be the case. I highly doubt that's going to be the case. Okay, Mr. Archer. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this color out because I suspect this is what's going to want me to do. Is this bronze green color. Nope, that's Russian. It's up here in a corner somewhere. Military green, no. Yes, dark, no. There it is, bronze green. I suspect this is the color it's going to want me to do. So what I'm going to do is, and I know they make a modulation set. That's just a way to throw away a shitload of money, in my opinion, for this scale. So I'm going to go on here. There was a Vallejo World War II. No, you know what I'm going to go? I'm going to go to Flames of War. But you don't play Flames of War. Yeah, but their website's great. Rules suck. Website's great. Rules don't suck. They just don't appeal to me. They're very drab. Actually, I'm not going to be able to find it because lately I've had trouble finding hobby stuff. I'll click on hobby and I have very few options here as far as articles. So I'm actually going to do Flames of War. Flames of War. British paint. That's probably going to get me where I want to go. Okay, British painting guide, British painting set. Okay, this is what I want to go. This is always a good... You know, the old sets that they had was basically one thing on here. And bronze greed, 897. 897. That works for me. And just to double check it, we're going to look up a picture of Archer tank destroyer. Okay, and we're going to go images. Here's one from War Thunder. I don't know. Well, we're going to tinker with the colors. It's certainly not more green than this. I think that's what we're going to go with. And this looks pretty cool, but I'm not putting a white star on it. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to make sure that we have black everywhere we need it, and then we will dry brush this on top of it so we can give it so it can dry. We'll mess with the Russian trucks, and then we'll give it a wash. Okay. I've got black in places that it's missing, that aren't gonna be handled. So what I'm gonna do is I'm not gonna use the because this gets everywhere a lot easier. It's like I'm just gonna use regular black paint. No, I'm not. Nope. Uh-oh, we got comments here. Get one today. I read something interesting the other day. All right, hit me. Soviet platoons nominated 2 men to shout pre-selected slogans during battle. It was a semi-official role. You gonna try a Mickey Mouse scheme on the Archer? Sure, Jeffrey, just for you. Because this thing's kind of bland. And you know, like I did with the Shermans, I don't think my Shermans look bland. And Shermans are fucking bland. You know, so yeah, we'll do Mickey Mouse. Really? Don't make me do that again. No, let's not do that. We'll do Mickey Mouse. Is Mickey Mouse black? I think it is. You know what I mean. I believe it is. Hey, I don't mind trying it out on this and covering up this detail. Does this count as a Valentine vehicle? Am I going to be able to live that down? I guess I don't like Valentines because they're squat. And there's just not much to look at. I know it's practical, but not exactly imposing. How's this going to work? This should be enough. Let's cover this so we don't have a problem that we have to clean for a freaking day. Now, if I remember correctly, these guys weren't available at Market Garden. They hadn't come out yet. I think it was October when they came out. But I could be wrong. I don't like being like one of those people on is it the Naval Historia Facebook group? That one, and there's 2 groups. I mentioned this the other day that I became a member of because there was some cool World War II photographs on there. But man, there's some people that they jump out of a plane before checking if they got a parachute on. You know, they'll say like, "Isn't that the such and such?" Like, just look it up before you post something like that. Like it's Really easy to look up basic things on the internet. And it's not that you come out looking like a fool, because not everybody knows everything. But man, you don't start misdirecting the audience into directions that they don't need to go into. I mean, if you don't know what you're talking about, just shut the hell up. That happens so much on the freaking car forums. And then, the alternative is no matter what anybody posts, there's like posts in response in extreme, and I mean extreme sarcasm. Like, oh, my car is doing this. What could it be? And then people are tired of the same damn question. So the smart asses put stuff on there like, you need to check your blinker fluid. And it's just like the same thing over and over again. Greetings from Portugal. Oh, our cousins. That tank is 1/72nd scale, yes. I almost got to go to Portugal, but I didn't. We were going to go on a cruise and it was going to end at Lisbon. I'm sorry, Lisboa. My pardons. Sounds weird to call it Lisbon. Portugal, the land of cork and port. And I like both of those things. Although I'm semi-fluent in Spanish, semi-fluent because I never went to school in it, but I never spoke to my parents in English, ever. So I have a very limited vocabulary. And I guess it's getting even more limited. But I can't understand half of it when people speak. But I'm just not used to. I could probably read it and understand better. Same thing with Italian, but the land of cork. That's why things are in Britain. You see people that make things out of cork everywhere. Walls and this and the other thing. And cork is extremely expensive in the United States. For what it is. I mean, it's freaking bark, right? It should be like free. It should be like pine needles, right? But it's really inexpensive. The two building materials that are really prevalent in the United Kingdom, and I say United Kingdom because that's the mecca of wargaming. That's where it started. Is cork, horsehair fibers, rubberized horsehair, and MDF. You guys have a Woody for all three of those things. Horsehair fiber, rubberized horsehair fibers is not available here in the United States. Or it's called something totally different if it is. Not available. Cork is really expensive everywhere unless you buy like trivets from IKEA that are like, $2 or $3 and you get a big circle like that and you cut that thing up into pieces. But since it all comes from Portugal and the English and the Portuguese have been allies for hundreds of years. Maybe there's a wife swap thing going on there with the cork. The Portuguese trade you cork, and what do you give the Portuguese? Not beans on toast, I hope. City of Porto. That's where they make the port, right? Very good wine. I love port. Port is excellent. It's taken from trees named Sobreiro. Sobreiro. Didn't know that. Didn't know that. I thought the trees were the cork tree, but sorry, I'm an ignoramus when it comes to when it comes to bark. Sobrero. Yeah, you guys got whatchamacallit out there in Portugal that does a ton of stuff in this scale. Let me think of what his name is. João. I don't know how to say his last name. Peixoto? I'm not looking at it, so I think that's what his name is. That guy is fucking prolific. Like, hey, let me show you 400 vehicles or 500 vehicles. And I'll be honest with you, he was a catalyst for me getting back and ditching DBA and working on my 1/72nd scale. That Portuguese guy was definitely a catalyst to, like, that guy's having way too much fun. This stuff is way too cool. I got to get in. I got to get back into that. And hey, I give credit where credit's due. You know. And it's nice seeing people do this scale. I love this scale. Love it. Okay. We still have black on here. Is there anything else we can touch up? No, I don't think so. I think we need to ditch this thing. João is John, isn't it? Juan? João? I believe so. Okay. Surface primer. Bye-bye. Okay, you sit over there and dry. Let's bring these communist vehicles back out here. And do the touch-up on them. And let's pull out the chocolate brown. Nope, that's leather brown's cousin. Este. I don't know what I got planned today, though. I'd like to get this thing to start working on this counter scheme on this thing. The daughter's up for a weekend. Or most of the weekend anyway. She leaves midday tomorrow. Of course, they're all asleep. Which is why I like getting up early and doing this. It doesn't interfere with anybody. Okay, and then we'll come back and do the other shades on there and then do some tuftage. Yes, here, Model Builder 172nd. Scale, Principal in Planes and Armor. Mr. Greg, watching before lights out in Australia. Yeah, I know. You got to look out for those Japanese subs. Turn the lights out, or the Japanese subs will find you in the shoreline. Actually, now it's Chinese subs. If we get into a war with the Chinese, are they going to have suicidal troops too? They're going to have kamikazes? What's kamikaze in Chinese? I hope so. That didn't help the war effort. Maybe that's also why I'm not interested in the Pacific War. It's just you're not fighting anything that I don't know. Just never been interested in the Pacific War. Not to poo-poo any veterans that fought over there. They don't get to pick where they go, you know. But I was on one of these sites yesterday just to prove the stupidity that's on there. Might have been on Naval Historia. And it was this back and forth, and I read this before I go to work. And there was this comment about, I think it was a picture of Lady Lex, one of my favorite aircraft carriers, despite it being American. World War II, we're talking about. Lady Lex. Before early 1942, when she still had the 8-inch guns. And she had the double 8-inch guns, very close together. 4 turrets of them, I believe. She had 8-inch guns. An ABXY turret before, and a BAFT, I think that's the correct terminology, of the conning tower. And these people were talking about armored flight decks, you know, and how the British used them and the Americans didn't. And this one guy made a comment like, they nearly cost the U.S. the entire Pacific War not putting armored flight decks on aircraft carriers. And I'm like, well, that's a way thing out of scale to do. You know, make it sound like that. Now, I'm going to say, I'm not trying to downplay the sacrifices that the Allied troops did in the Pacific War. But the Pacific War is so fucking one-sided from a wargaming standpoint. I don't want to wargame it. It is so one-sided. Like someone's like, oh, why don't you use, why don't you do something like the Marianas Turkey Shooter or Philippine Sea or something like that? It's so fucking one-sided, Maybe if everybody played the Japanese and the GM controlled the Americans, but it's so absurdly one-sided. I have no interest in wargaming it. That and the American stuff is just, boring because it's like, 5 million of one type and then, something of one type. It's not, from a modeling aspect, it's not very interesting to me. Not using your wet palette. No, I haven't pulled it out in a long time. Pain in the ass. Takes up too much space. Today we see models in 1/72 superior details compared to 130. Yeah, this SS model A13, which hopefully will be finished mostly tomorrow, has as good a details as a 1/35th scale model. It's brittle as hell, unfortunately, but it's beautiful. Yeah. Old school brush painter, just work with airbrush about 4 years. Yeah, I'm only on year 2. Yes, these are the Plastic Soldier Company GAZ AA trucks. AA and AAA trucks. Yeah, I haven't used. I'll use a wet palette again when I'm doing figures, but for vehicles, it's just too much of a pain in the butt to pull it out. It's in the way. It takes up too much real estate. Yeah, I do dry brushing with this, and I don't use it. You know, the only dry brushing I ever did on figures was the chainmail. That's pretty much it. So the the U.S. Pacific, the battle in the Pacific was almost lost. I mean, it's just a freaking one sided. Now, you know, it was one sided because a lot of people did some incredible sacrifices, you know. But if you're gaming it, and you know all that stuff's happening behind the scenes, it's a turkey shoot. It's a turkey shoot after Guadalcanal. Certainly the naval aspect of it. And the Japanese, unlike the Germans, don't really have any really cool toys. It's not like, well, and the Germans knew they were going to lose in 1945, but we're doing this 1945 scenario anyways. Well, because you might use like a Yag Tiger or some really cool piece of kit that even though they are outnumbered 10 to 1, at least you can see it on the table. The Japanese didn't have shit like that. Japanese had, you know, like 1930s tanks still late in the war. Now, maybe if the roles were reversed, maybe if the Japanese were, you know, fighting people that were suicidal and wanted to do crazy charges, maybe it would have, you know, balanced itself out. But I'm just not captivated by that. Never have been. And like I said, it's not to downplay any sacrifices that the veterans did. You know, they're fighting the war. They don't know that it was going to be one sided until it's over with. You know, and they did do some great sacrifices, and maybe that's why it was one sided. But from a wargaming aspect, I want to see things that go back and forth. That's why I like Barbarossa and 41-42. That's why I like the Desert War. Both of those things are really even. The Desert War is really even, actually. You're building the M109 A6 Paladin howitzer, gun propellant, 1970 from Rich Model. I've never heard of Rich Model. Awesome kit, super detailed. Oh, you're doing modern stuff, right? Well, lots of people use that 109. I don't know the difference between 109 and 110. Lots of Western allies. You know what I don't like about modern stuff? And I could be wrong on this. That a lot of people from the 1980s still use that three-color NATO camouflage. So whether it's the U.S. stuff in Europe or I almost said the West Germans. Hey, I still have that built in me. Heck with it, I'll say it. The West Germans, they all use a similar camouflage scheme on their vehicles, and it's kind of like, I don't know, it just kind of a little bit takes the wind out of my sails. Now, there is a war game that I really think the plot is really interesting, and it is modern. And I watched a demo of it. I came close to looking at possibly getting it, but you know, if I would have gotten it, it would have just been sat around. I wouldn't have played it. But it's called Armageddon War, made by Flying Pig Games or something like that, and it's a supposedly takes place in the Middle East in the near future. Of course, the Middle East. God forbid we fight a war anywhere else. And it's, you know, it's got Russians and the U.S. and Israelis and a couple, two, three different Middle Eastern ISIS type factions, and it's a really good looking game. But you know the visibility distances of those vehicles is so extreme that kind of hard to get them on the tabletop in the game that in the fashion that I'm looking at. But them 109s used by a lot of people. I got out of knowing about the modern vehicles when we stopped playing combined arms a game that was made by the same people that did Command Decision back in the late '80s. And we had some micro armor in that scale. Did full the gap type stuff, and old Gorby ruined it all. But I do like the Chieftains. Chieftain is an awesome freaking vehicle. I just really like what it looks like. You're doing with a desert scheme from the Gulf War. Yeah, those are all good looking vehicles. Okay, we've got that done. Now we're going to go in and U.S. Field Drab. Why do I use these colors? Well, I got them from the Flames of War website. I told you their website's excellent. I just don't like the rules. They're too basic for me. And probably the worst thing about, in my opinion, the Flames of War rules is that it portrays itself as a 1-to-1 scale game, and it just doesn't feel that way. When you're playing the vehicles, it doesn't feel like it's one vehicle. It feels like you're playing like a 1-to-5s game or something like that. Playing a 1-to-1 scale game where you're pointing the turret and stuff like that matters, and it doesn't in that one. Most of my models are German World War II, just building modern models specific according to campaign you like. Signing off for now. I'll try to catch you painting the A... Well, it's not an A10, it's an A13. You did put A10, right? A10s are coming next if it works. But had a little hiccup on purchasing things. But we'll see if this works out. We'll order the A10s from them. And we're just going to put, this is the mid color that's on everything. We're just basically filling up the areas that we needed to carve out to get the epoxy to stick. This seems like a pain in the butt to do it, but it actually works really well. I've been really happy with this method. And then, how's this guy doing? We'll do this color, and then we'll do Mr. Archer. I really like Plastic Soldier Company a lot. They're not infallible, but they are robust. And you don't fool around building stuff that's not visible. Like, I don't mind putting a lot of details on something invisible, but why should I do all this effort building on stuff that's underneath the vehicle that you're never going to see? The whole bottom of the vehicle can be flat for all I care, unless you're going to flip the thing over. There's really no point. These are not very attractive vehicles, but they do paint up well. Your favorite subject of the winter and desert campaigns of the Africorps, the Germans, and Russia. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Specifically, I like Operation Crusader, and I like Wintergewitter. Of those two. The problem with desert is, I'm sorry, The problem with winter is the snow camo. And if you do the snow camo, I haven't tried one, and I'm sure I'll be happy with how it turns out. But the initial scare in it is that you got to make it look sloppy, and even when it looks sloppy, it doesn't look right. If you look pictures of winterized vehicles, they don't look right. They look like, you'll have those guys, it's like, we don't have any paint, so they made it out of chalk. It looks terrible. It looks like, that's not really how it is. So, being creative, I think, is a combination between, doing what's realistic and your own spin on reality. Sometimes, there's paint schemes that don't look right. So don't do those. Do other ones that do. And I can't like every paint scheme. So. But I actually have the AK stuff, the whitewash stuff. I just haven't. I'm sure the first vehicle I'll do will probably be a T-34. I just have too many T-34s not to do one of them like that, and just see how I like it. Of course, the bad thing, I might like it too much, and the next thing I know, I have Germans and Soviet things that are specifically for that. My Africa Corps, whenever I get around to doing them, I'm not painting them yellow. I'm painting them gray, and then weathering them severely so that they look yellow. But they're still going to have gray undertones. I just don't like the look of pre-painted Africa Corps yellow vehicles. I just don't like it. It's just my personal preference. I don't like it. I plan on doing early stuff as well. So, a lot of those vehicles came in gray and just had the elements let loose on them. The British had used two different colors during the early period as a base color. And one of them is light stone, and the other one I think is middle stone or something like that. It may be called something different. It looks like they used both of them at the same time, so I'll probably do some of each. But, I'm looking up and picking up some of those Mark 7 light tanks, and probably a dozen of them. So easily 2 can be one kind and 3 can be the other. Just things to look forward to. Nothing I got to get right now. Just things I look forward to. I have 0 desert infantry other than the Airfix sets. Or NPC as they call them here in the United States. Yeah, I think this is one of the colors, this green ochre. This could be an Africa Corps color. I'm not painting them this color. I mean, I may dry brush this on top of it, but they're going to start off as gray. But otherwise, it just looks like there's not enough depth in there. Just my own spin on it. Buff. They'll look great. This is not my first rodeo. Fantastic camouflages in planes and tanks. I'll tell you what, I'm actually not a fan of the meshes, like the German aircraft for North Africa. They just look crappily painted, and I don't like the Messerschmitt, which is the one that Marseille flew down there. The F, I don't like the 109F. I don't like how it looks, and I don't like the Spitfire with the tropicalized chin. It's the only Spitfire that's unattractive. Build a King Tiger in 72nd for Zvezda, winter camouflage in the Battle of Ardennes. That work spot by spot in brush. I have the Hasegawa Panther that I did in ambush scheme, but it's not winterized. But I did that a long time ago. And it looks okay. I mean, I'm still going to redo it because it's not going to look like it's made by the same people, like it's painted by the same person. Just stay away from the King Tiger from Pegasus. It is an abortion, to put it lightly. That is easily the worst model I've ever built in my entire life. It's a model that glue doesn't work on. I had never heard of that. Okay. Do a Pegasus King Tiger and then put Petting House decals on it. No, the worst of worst. A model that won't stay glued together with weld cement mixed with a decal that you can't keep the edges from showing even with all the microsol in the world. Does Vesda have this thing about all the hatches are closed? Because that's how my Panther is. I got a couple of Panther Ds from Zvezda for Kursk, and they came with the hatches closed, the top hatches. I don't want them all open, but I wouldn't mind one vehicle in 5 to be crew exposed, just so you could put some figures in there to give it a sense of scale. 1 to 5 is fine. I don't need any vehicle all like that, but it's just what's blinking. Like something was blinking. I think there's one thing I've come to realize. Just about every house has electrical issues. Not major ones, but they always say the old house used to be, if you had the ceiling, if you had the light on in one room and you went to the other bathroom around the hall and you flickered the light like this, it would make this one flash. It's like they always have issues like that. But you can... I can't see because that heart's in the way. But you can something and put open if you like. Yeah, I don't mind converting it, but I don't want to damage it in the process. So both of my Panther Ds are closed. I play in 1-to-1 scale, which basically means that, these two vehicles are, this far apart from each other in real life. So really the vehicles don't need to be crew exposed. It's just a way to make the models look interesting. You could take like pistol fire and stuff in my game. So there's no really reason for the vehicles to be crew exposed. I call it crew exposed as a carryover from my squad leader days. Button up and crew exposed. They're just ugly trucks to begin with, but they look pretty good. But we all have our preferences. I don't like using dust products. In other words, any product that's going to make it put a light color like this into the crevices, because it blends too much and doesn't look like a war game model. I want them to look realistic, but there's a little bit of cartoonish to them. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but they need to pop. Maybe not cartoonish, but like a graphic novel. That's kind of the look I'm looking for. This is not the look you're looking for. No, that's the look I'm looking for. So, and that's just personal preference. There's some masters that do stuff in 1/35th scale on YouTube. Night Shift and one other guy, I can't think what it is. And their vehicles look better than a real vehicle. You put a vehicle next to them and they just look like, They don't look as good. But they use stuff that gets these light colors into the crevices. And the crevices, for me, always need to be damn near black so that they pop at a distance. And that's just my preference, you know? A real vehicle, you start doing those realistic things, it starts blending in the environment, which I guess is a good thing, but, you know, not for the aesthetic that I'm going for. You know, they need to have some more contrast on there. Everything is possible modeling, just scratch. Well, I didn't want to open it bad enough. I did have some T-3485s that I inherited from somebody, and they didn't give me any hatches for them. And I built the hatches for them. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. No, that is the case with the T-3485s. And I did it first with some Panzer IIIs. All right, I got to show you this because I'm really proud of it. It's not going to come out well because the resolution here is crappy, but I inherited one of these from somebody from a estate sale. And I don't like Panzer IIIs that don't have the storage thing in the back. I did 2 of them. Let me show you what I did. An optical delusion. So this is an MMS model of a Panzer IIIe. And it had no hatch. So instead of making a 2-piece hatch, which is a pain in the butt to make, see if I can do this. Let me get close so I can see what I'm showing you. Let's find the camera, Tony. Okay, that's not going to work. I'll tell you what is going to work. Let's take a photo and show you the photo. I'm a basic person when it comes to stuff like that. Now I got to see what I'm showing you. That's all fake. That's all straight across. There's no gap in it or everything. I was really proud of how that turned out. I'm like, damn. Sometimes you got to push yourself, challenge yourself a little bit. Yes, I did 2 of them. Both of these, neither one of these had the split hatch with them. So I just repainted it with I said plastic card, but I think it was the top of like a lid to like a cottage cheese container or something like that. Worked out really well. But I can paint my way out of anything. That's what I have the most confidence in. I love painting things that are one thing and there's something else. Like I like painting like anything that's like logs or something on the side of a tank. You know, something that's supposedly made of wood but isn't. I love doing stuff like that. So I got a Sherman here with the logs on it. Yeah, I need to try to recast this. I'm going to try to recast this that mantlet so I could use it for the other. You know, this little box. Nah, I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm not going to try to show close up. It's a lot easier just to take a picture. Yeah. Little boxes and stuff like that. Make it look like it's made of wood when it isn't. I love doing shit like that. It's just so damn easy. And we already have the tarps on these things. They're laying over here, so I'm making them removable. Again, you made it look like a tarp, and it's not a tarp at all. I like stuff like that. And now we need to go to Toughlandia. Now, let's see what we have out here already. Oh, gamer's grass comes from Portugal. I love this stuff. I don't know what it's called over there. It's probably called something different. But this is Portuguese. Gamer's grass. Product of Portugal. Made in Portugal. And we'll need some of these. Not made in Portugal. No, this is made in Portugal too. Hallelujah. I didn't know that. I was like, oh, this is Danish. I said, yeah, the company, Army Painter Danish, made in Portugal. The land of tufts. Tufts, cork, and port. Good, I like all those things. Win, win, and win. You just came on here to make sure I was using your products. Well, I was. You guys have good products. All right, how many of these little guys we're going to use? One. Have any? No, these are the more modern. These are leftovers from other ones where I took too many off and then didn't use them. Let's grab one for each vehicle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I lied. Let's do 7. This stuff is easier to get than the gamer's grass. The gamer's grass I got to order. Or I got to go to a town about 50 miles away to get them. I'd rather order them. That's just a waste of gas unless I'm traveling around that way. And before we do that, actually, before I do that, I need to base color. I'm going to base color the archer. So my painting method that I use is I base everything black. That's how I've always done since the 1990s. I don't plan on changing. I don't want to be converted. I'm not interested in converting people. If you do a method that you like, fine, do it. I don't care, you know. So I can do this with the airbrush also, but it doesn't really matter. I dry brush this so that we leave some of the black in the spots. Then we do a brown wash, and then we go back up with this, and then we lighten this up with dark sand. Might have to do something a little different in the desert. Let's put this somewhere that it's not going to get out of control. Now, do I have another one of these? I thought I had another one of these floating around. I don't want to use a whole sheet because then I could transfer that over onto something else without wanting to. The Brits, I think it's the Canadians use these guys too. All right. This is the bronze green. Sounds like a basketball player. Who's that? It's LeBron's green. What? All right. using Portuguese tufts and Spanish paint. How Iberian. Okay, I can already tell you I don't like this. Because this color reminds me of the really late 1945 color. I'm going to stop. That like comets and stuff were painted in. It doesn't look right. I don't dislike the color. It's just not the color I want. So we're going to stop this process. We're going to do a little bit of research. I think Russian uniform is the color that they recommended, but I'm going to do some more research on it. This is not, I can already tell the way I'm painting it, it's like, this is not going to turn out when I'm finished how I wanted it to look. So this color is going to be very similar to, well, like this with a little bit more blue in it. And that's not what I'm looking for. That's not the color I was looking for. Okay, so we're going to punt and do a little bit more research with that. Okay, back to the... That just happened doesn't happen to me very often. But I did not do a super deep dive on what color it is. So we're going to... the last time I painted a British vehicle, let me show you what I did. My Fireflies, I actually went and hunted down the Humbrol color and actually painted it in enamels. And this is the color that I'm looking for. And this isn't it. Yeah, this is very bluish. So, hey, sometimes you gotta punt. And I'm not gonna get it enamels. So I'm going to do a little bit of research. The last thing you want to do is spend 8 or 10 hours on something and you don't like how it looks. Use the black and white techniques. Very simple. Take Go Effect models, base black, white to create shadows and contrast. I do not do zenithal. No. It's Albatross. 1/32 use everything. I love the effective wood. Albatross, D3. Yep. It's the only World War I planes I like is the Albatross. All the other ones are ugly. Pretty much. DH4s and stuff aren't too bad. Something nice about a Newport 17, but Spad, Sopwith Camel. Sopwith Camel is just not an attractive plane. I don't think that the Fokker triplane is an attractive plane either. I'm not a fan of radial engines. Yeah, zenithal, I don't use zenithal because I don't want to put white in places. So I do my own kind of modulation. And it works pretty well. It works pretty well. It's easy to do. And it gives some variations of color without going crazy. And there's some people that do a really, really good job, but man, I don't need any methods that take even longer than I take. I take a long ass time. I take a longer time than most people. Let's see if I can show you a picture of what I'm talking about. This is the way to do it, not try to pop up things on the screen that don't look right. Get this out of the way. What happened with that? There you go. That works for me. And that's basically a prime black, dry brush the main color, a brown wash, dry brush that main color again, then start lightening up that main color, and then come in and put in scratches and stuff like that, and then the dry brush to tie it into the floor, into the base. And that works for me. And the really nice thing is I can do it really consistent. I can come back and do 20 of these vehicles, come back and do another one, and then they'll look like I did them all at the same time, and I value that a lot. I don't like things that are like look like they're made by a bunch of different people, because your technique changes and stuff like that. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. This is the messy part. This is the part where we got to do that's where experience comes in. If this is my first time doing a tank, I would have finished using this color and then realized that's not the color I wanted after I'd spent a bunch of hours on it. Experience is like, this isn't going to turn out what I'm looking for. So let's punt. Let's punt on it. And I only use the airbrush really for priming and sealing. The rest of it, I'm a brush guy. I'm never going to be good at the airbrush like I am painting the brush with a brush. Bronze green used till 42, more likely an olive green for Commonwealth 44 on. Yeah, well, this was the color. I didn't do a whole lot of research. I just what color can I paint this? Let's do something different. So this is the one that was recommended in the Vallejo colors for the late war Brits. But this reminds me of like what the Comets were painted in 1945. Not the other one that's a little bit more olive drab looking. Hey, I've got one of those greens will work. And I end up tinkering with it anyways because I end up adding other colors to it. So I will do that before we get off on the wrong tangent. Because there's nothing worse than wasting your time or being unhappy with something you created, which fortunately doesn't happen very often for me. All right, let's go. Where did we put? There it is. What are you doing over there? And we need something to shake and bake on. Let's use this. And the tweezers. Such a pain in the butt to put on glasses to see something that's 2 feet away. I'm so bloody nearsighted. All right. And then we'll put tufts on here as well. I've been really happy with the static grass from Scenic Express. And I've had it for 25 years and still haven't run out. I'm coming close. All right, we'll come back and do. And of course, why are they on stands? Because they all magnetized. So like when I moved recently, I just put them all in a baking tray and none of them moved or got damaged. And that can play on the side of a refrigerator if I feel like it. I have to paint the refrigerator. You don't want to play on a stainless steel background. Just that's not very realistic. And no, I don't do ruts for their tires. That's a detail too far. They're playing pieces, folks. Supposedly. PVA. That's the other thing they use a lot in the UK. I don't have any confidence in PVA. I use it to hold this down, and that's about it. I am of little faith. Even though this is the heavy duty one. Wow! You know, the groundwork is really similar to like dry brushing. Dry brushing looks okay, but you can't just do one color and be done with it. You gotta do different layers so it's all like, you know, that's one thing you don't know as a kid. Like, I didn't care for dry brushing as a kid. Well, I wasn't doing it right. I wasn't doing it right because I didn't know how other people did it because there was no internet where you could share, like, damn communist truck. And yes, the Nazi truck's an asshole too. Damn commie truck. They're built by a license on Ford. I have a feeling they didn't pay Ford shit for that. Communist credit's no good. Oh, we pay you, comrade, when we go to free market. Don't go to a free market, they don't have to pay you. But the headlights turned out really nice on this. Or they turned out in a way that I like. I'm the one I gotta please, because if I'm not pleased, I'm gonna stop doing this. That's why I don't like people that go and they poo-poo other people's work on their on the internet and stuff like that. If you don't have anything nice to say about something somebody created, just shut the hell up. This could be somebody's therapy that keeps them from going on a shooting spree. You know, it's quite possible. That's not the case for me, but, you know, this might be a crazy person that's just held in check by doing models. Or as I like to say, this is what keeps me from being an alcoholic. I don't think I'd be an alcoholic anyways, but sounds good. Even something that's a problem doing this is easy enough to fix. It's therapeutic. And this matches all the basing I have on all the other Soviet stuff, all the Eastern Front stuff, actually, for that matter. Won't put any back here this time. Yep. It sure is. And you have something to show for it, unlike watching television where you don't have anything to show for it. And then the writers will ruin the show. You could have just built some models and all would have been good. As people say, oh man, how do you have time to do all this stuff? I said, okay, how much time do you watch sports or television of all kinds? All right, well, take that time and use it towards this. You have plenty of time. You just decide to choose it somewhere else. Or now, how much time do we spend fooling around on our phones, surfing on our phones? Way too much time. Not saying I don't do that. I do that. But this is good for your soul right here. As long as it ends up being a positive experience. If every time you pick up a paintbrush, things go sideways for you, maybe not a good choice for a relaxing activity. And I've said this before. The modeling part is therapeutic. Gaming isn't. And I'm not saying that gaming is stressful, but it's just not the same. Anybody can play a game. Anybody can buy shit, right? Anybody can just go out and buy stuff. You know, work at somewhere you don't like to work and buy things that make you happy. And then, okay, now what? You know, this is not available in stores. As seen on TV. As seen on YouTube. Russians bought a few examples of Western vehicles and made barely different copies of them. Did that with a Christie tank? Yep. Basis for the BT and the Vickers 6-ton, which became the T26. The most important thing is having fun with our hobby. The most important thing is that it calms you down, because if it causes you stress, why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? So I know one guy in particular that he's wound up a bit tight and a little rough around the edges, but that's because he's from up north. And I know I don't mean Yorkshire. But his problem is, and I didn't realize this for several years, is that he used to play with people that were dicks. And, you know, when you play people that are out to get you, it's a bad experience. I mean, we're always out to get each other competition-wise, but just like trying to pull one over on them, and that's just as bad. That is just a bad environment to be in. He came down here, moved to Florida, and realized, hey, we don't roll that way. He has a good time, you know. He has a good attitude. Well, you know, it's about, you can't be an asshole and then wonder why nobody wants to play a game with you, you know. And likewise, you can't put up with nonsense, because it's like having an employee that's a bad apple. The good employees aren't going to make the bad apple better. The bad apple brings everybody down. You just got to kick them. He's got a rotten core. Get rid of him. See ya. Bye-bye. There's no hope for you. You're dead to me. See ya. What's this down here? Airbrush cleaner. That shouldn't be there. All right. Now, Tuftlandia. I happen to like BT7s, how they look a lot. The ones with the 1939 turret, they're a good looking vehicle. They might be a piece of crap, okay, but they're a good looking vehicle. All right. Let's bring these commie bastards to life. Let's bring our pile of tufts that we have over here. And we're going to put one of them right here. And these tweezers are freaking excellent. They're made in Switzerland. I got them from my dad probably in 1984. Luckily, I haven't lost them. And I'm like, well, let's see how much Swiss tweezers go for. And I'm like, I mean, I'm worth it and all, but I'm not paying $50 for a pair of tweezers. I'm sorry. Because if I lose them, I can't live with myself. You know. Some things just, you got to be frugal with some things. You know, you just can't be sort of waste a lot. Or I can't. You know, there's some things that are worth the cost, and there's some things it's like, that's just absurd what you want to price that for. So waste a lot. Good name for a rapper slash sanitation engineer. Sanitation engineer by day, rapper by night. So waste a lot. All right. All with hand painted stuff on the doors, which is like my favorite thing to do. That's my equivalent of doing heraldry. Okay, we did that style on this one, so on this side we'll do the other style. Let's cut this in. No, we don't have to cut this one in half. This one's good. We're going to have to order for these Portuguese things soon, though. We're going through them like they're going out of style. Well, I'm doing a lot of vehicles. I said I just did 14, and these 6, that's 20 vehicles. I go from none, boom, 20 vehicles we'll be able to put in there. Done. Going very good stream. Nice to meet you, Tony. When we have time, look at the tips, send chat. Okay. We'll check it out. I did do the zenithal thing on the Stegosaurus, but I had to paint the Stegosaurus a little different than I do anything else. I did kind of watercolorish. So in other words, I had to think of it backwards, because I usually paint the darkest thing and work my way up. I paint the shadows and work myself to the light. That's how I normally paint. Not normally paint, that's how I paint. And using the zenithal, you have to do it backwards. Well, that's a different tuft. Well, we'll put that one in there. F it. It's not that different. And what do we have on this side? Sometimes it's better not to go overboard. I almost said less is more. Less is never more. Less is always less. The problem is more isn't always better. Less is more. What kind of demented algebraic crap is that? No, less is always less. More is not always better. That's my alcohol tip. Let me have another drink. No, more is not always better. You may not feel better. As a matter of fact, there's a good chance that's not going to be the case. I went to the doctor recently, and one of the things on the question, I fired my old doctor. That's what I love about America. You can fire you. I don't know, maybe you can do that in, I don't know, everybody like loves the healthcare system in other places. And ours is certainly not perfect, but I can go to wherever the hell I want. And honestly, I have to wait too long as it is to get an appointment. I have to wait like a couple weeks or week and a half or something like that. Anyway, so I fill out this questionnaire. How many ounces of alcohol do you drink a day? And there was all these things to check off. And I'm like, are there people that drink that much? And so I basically put, on average, 1 to 0 ounces. I won't drink for months. And then I'll go to some event or people will come over and I'm having to drink every day for like 4 days. Just because it's social. And then, I'll go back to not drinking ever again. Because drinking puts me to sleep. And I never associate working on this stuff and drinking. Although I have been known to have sips of vodka while I'm working on Soviets. That just gets you into the spirit of it. Literally. But man, are there people that are drinking 12 ounces of alcohol every day? Like shit. I need to drink at work, not when I'm not at work. And since I can't drink while I'm at work, I'm fine not drinking. We'll put this one here, about to be run over. Kersquish. Okay. Where did this go? Let's turn this into 2. I asked the doctor about that. I said, man, it's kind of strange you fill out this questionnaire. It doesn't ask you anything about drug use, which would be a waste for me. Only drugs I do are caffeine. I'm an addict. That's it. I said it was kind of strange. There's no questions about drug use. No, and there was only 2 choices for gender. She goes, it's an old questionnaire. I said, well, some things that are old are better. Let's not keep, that one's good, okay. Right, there's one of those up there. There's one of those there. There's one of those there. All right, let's put one of these here. Try to mix it up a little bit. But I like to be able to fire my doctor. Because like the doctor I had the bedside man. It was a female doctor, which I'm a fan of. I think that there's exceptions to everything, but I think that they do a better job at that than a male doctor. I don't know. But she had the bedside manner of Genghis Khan, which is not what you want in a doctor. You don't need to be babied, but you don't need to be treated like a, like you didn't pay your respects to the Khan. It was just like, she was just a total lumberjack bitch. So, fired. Okay, cool. So I don't know how that works in the UK, whether you get assigned a doctor, that's who you have to go to, or you can fire them as needed. But when I went up to Canada, they've got that other kind of medicine up there. And it was kind of like, we just kind of had like a, curiosity thing, like asking people, like, do you guys like your medical system? And it was about split. It was 50-50. 50% of the people hated it, and 50% of the people all right. I guess it probably depends on what kind of experience you've had with it. You know, if you haven't had a bad experience with something, then you don't mind it, you know. If you just go to the doctor and you don't mind waiting 3 months, if you don't have something really critical that's happened to you, it's probably not urgent. Like, I don't have anything bad to say about hospitals because I've only been in the hospital one time, and that's when I was born. I don't remember, fortunately. So our hospital system might be terrible, but I don't know about it because I haven't experienced it, fortunately, and don't want to. You know, I'll pass. But I really like the Canadian people we encountered. It just proves you shouldn't judge people by what the media makes you think people are like. Don't judge Americans by what, if you're not in America, they show you. We're not that way. You know, New York isn't America. You know, I got a friend of mine. I know two people in particular, that hate anything French. And they've never met a French person. Well, that's stupid, okay? Because that's like saying, you know, you don't like somebody just because of what you've heard what they're like. You know, there's people from all different types, no matter where they're from. You know, I said it like told Greg that was on here earlier. I said, "Man, why are Australians all so nice?" I said, "Oh, well, we got our share of arseholes." I said, "Well, you guys don't send them over here, so keep them over there. Keep them in prison." All right. Even with being as anal retentive as I am, I still got a little bit of splatter. I mean, tiny little flecks on here. So we're going to put some hand sanitizer on here and get these little bits off because I don't want to look at this shit. And this is expensive. This is like $40 for this thing. I don't want to buy another one. You got to take care of the things you spent your hard-earned money on. The cutting mat that I'll never cut on. I just like it as a background. That's got to be an eyesore looking at a video and there's always these stains and spillations. All right, Soviet trucks. They look better with a little canvas thing on them. And they look a lot better with two axles in the back. It's the single axle ones in the backs aren't very attractive, in my opinion. Just like that. Between last night and tonight, 20 vehicles done. Well, you know, it wasn't like anything happened for many months on them. It's just kind of slow progress. Nice. Nice. Okay. Hopefully we'll have a bright enough day we can take some outside photographs of these guys. Well, that cleared up my work area significantly. Now we can go and look back at Mr. Archer and find out what the deal with that is. So the first place I'm going to go in my travels is I'm going to go to ScaleMates. I'm going to find a model of a ScaleMates vehicle Model of the Archer, and Scalemates. If you don't know what Scalemates is, it's a wonderful website where people can post yeah, it looks like Russian uniform there. I don't want to look at the Tamiya one because they're always going to recommend their freaking paint, even if it's the wrong color. It looks like Russian uniform. Okay, here it is. Archer anti-tank group from Flames of War. All right, so hopefully it talks about painting it because I like the color that they used here. It seems right. Assembly guide, step by step information. I want to know what color you used. Looks like Russian uniform. It tells me how to build something super simple. Assembly Archer, assembly Challenger, Comet. Okay, here's the thing about the Archer I was reading about. After successful trials, the vehicle was put into production with the first models rolling off the production line in March 44, reaching European battlefields in October. So a missed market garden. All right, let's go. Archer tank destroyer, paint color. I don't mind this color either. From Tamiya. Humbrol deep bronze green, a color used by the British Army in 1945. I don't want to do it in 1945. British World War II paint color tanks. Okay, here's a Vallejo set. Okay, here we go. Let's look at the back of this thing. I'm not buying more. I'm not buying more sets. Yeah, this is the British Armor and Infantry. And if you look at, that's the one that recommended the bronze green. What's the what's the back of this say? Oh, you know what? It might have had a dry brush in a different color. Let's see if we can get. Let's see what this guy says. Oh, he's using MIG paints. Yeah, I like MIG paints, but I'm not buying more. Colors of War paints. Yeah, so this is colors that Vallejo did, and then they did other variations of it. This looks pretty good. You know, I could figure it out on my own, just tinkering with it. I just don't. I want to do it right the first time, not have to second guess myself. Man, look at these Shermans. Those look freaking awesome. Look at these British Shermans. But that's not the color we want. We want something a little bit more. Bronze green, Russian uniform. What did they recommend doing one over the other? I'm looking for the back of this. British Armor and Infantry. Okay, so I'm just going to do a search for British Armor and Infantry. I think that's probably what it is. British, and then we'll try that. Armor and Infantry. Vallejo. And let's visit them and see what they have to say. Because it just has to be close-ish, because I'm going to end up doing a wash and stuff on it anyways. You're going to end up weathering it. Okay, this is what they're saying. They're saying vehicle base bronze green, vehicle highlight Russian uniform. Okay, well, I don't do those two things. Let's get the Russian uniform. I don't highlight one and then do the other one. Let's do the Russian. The first uniform should be this one. Nope. Close, but no cigar. Let's try that. I'll start dry brushing the other color on the other side. US on the drab. Nope. 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 Here it is. Where's Archie? That's much better. Let's try that. That's way too. I don't want to start doing it that way. The next thing you know, alter my method. I just use one color, I do a wash on top of it, and then I dry brush that color again, and then start adding colors to it. Not like start with one, change to a different one, then do it just starts going diluted to the many different ways. I don't want to go down that slippery slope. Russian uniform. I'm doing a no-no right now. So let's put a stop to that. And that no-no is painting on top of nothing. I'll have a mess to clean up, and I don't want to do that. That's time wasted cleaning up messes. There we go. Yeah, I don't mind that color. It's just not the color I want. Got a lot of blue in it. All right, let's see what we get. Let's see what we get with this. And we're going to need somebody took the freaking... Why do people keep taking the paper towels out of here? painting British vehicles and it's foggy out there. Is that coincidence? All right, we're going to give this a shot. If we don't like this, then we're going to go... I'm going to go my own way. Might even mix the two. Who knows? The only downside of doing this is that you go through a lot of brushes. You can go through a lot of brushes, but they're cheap ass brushes. Because they're getting misused. And I don't believe I got a crew to put in here. But that doesn't bother me any. That don't bother me none. This thing moves forward. It's so slow, it's a Valentine in reverse. You're not going to be closing on the enemy really fast with this thing. This is a very defensive weapon. It's a lot faster than moving a 17-pounder anti-tank gun, because a 17-pounder anti-tank gun is just freaking huge. Well, it's like an 88. It's big like that. Can't move it in a hurry. Just putting enough of this that the wash has got somewhere to get a purchase on it. Because we're going to end up going back over with this color. And I got to step away from this to see if I like it. I think I do. I think this is better. It's definitely better. We have a needle with nothing on it. Take this epoxy off. I'd rather the paint be too thick than too thin. And then we'll have to let this dry a little bit before you put the wash on, or the wash ends up washing this color off. Which is not the intention. Yeah, this is not a very good model. Very crude. But this has also been out of production for a long time. I think they carried a Bren gun on these things for point defense. You know, one of those things, we got one of those in case we need it. But if we got to use it, a lot of people didn't do their jobs. A lot of folks didn't protect these archers. If the archer's having to shoot a Bren gun at somebody, somebody didn't protect them well enough. Okay, and we'll let that sit and dry. Looks okay from here. Should be fine. Not my first rodeo. Will not have a white star on it. Looks silly. Looks silly on a non-US vehicle. Now, several of the British tanks in North Africa, in North Africa, and also in Italy, had the roundel on either the roof or the engine compartment. That's okay. That's okay. But I don't put a white star on a vehicle. It's not American. It just doesn't look right. It breeds confusion. What kind of American vehicle is that? It's not American at all. Why'd you put a white star? Get out of here. Would you have a honey-do list to work on? Start threatening people that are argumentative with you. Keep it up. I'm telling your wife how many kits you bought this last month. No, don't do that. There's no point in painting this color and then painting that on top of it, because I'm still going to end up doing a brown wash. So I'm just creating extra work for myself. I'm going to check on one thing here. Oh, man. Do people have to hide their hobby stuff that much from their wives? You're probably doing something wrong. This looks like a really uncomfortable driving position. This should be... Nope. It's in my way. gunmetal. I know I had gunmetal from them. Maybe I shouldn't put my washes in here after all. Is it hard to spot? Old Strong Tone. It replaced Agrax Earthshade. Agrax Earthshade got too expensive, but more importantly than too expensive is it got sticky. Started to behave very strangely. Let's put it on something non-absorbent. We're going to need more now. That's why I just pour this on directly. You just create an extra drama. Just putting it one place and applying it somewhere else. But I forget. Even I've got to relearn shit. And this is what I call, this is my modulation. I put the base color down. I put this on top of it, give it some darker tones, still leaving some black in, and then dry brush the base color up, and then lighten the base color and dry brush some more. And I'm pretty happy with the results so far. Be interesting is, I may have to go to a lighter color other than Strong Tone for North Africa, but I think I'm going to try it doing it the same way, because I do want those dark undertones in there, just so you can have a variety of different stuff. And some of the top color came off a little bit in a few places. It's not a big deal. Like I said, the whole thing is going to get dry brushed again. All right, we got to let this thing sit there and percolate. See what your wife's a quilter. She has her issues with that and purchased items. As long as I buy a responsible amount of gaming items, I have no problems. I can buy anything I want as long as I use it. You know, I got, what, I just did a count, about 100 vehicles. Let's knock out another 50 before I buy more, you know? I don't mind having a reserve. But just buy, now, just about all of them are built. So, like, I've gotten some, it's not like they just sat in a freaking kit, never did anything with them. My daughter's been doing some of that stuff. She was quilting something. I think it's really cool. I'm very, it's a word I'm thinking of. Welcoming. I'm very pro letting them do that. I get it. That's not the hobby I want to do, but I get it. She made some scarves for us when we went to Canada. It's really freaking cool. I think it's really cool. I think knitting's really cool. And I don't even mind going into the store that has the knitting supplies, because there's stuff there for me. You know? I mean, I'm the only straight male in Joann Fabrics when I walk in, but That's okay. You know, there's cool stuff in there to look at. Yeah, I appreciate that kind of stuff. You know, I get it. So, okay, I think this is where we're going to stop for the morning. How long have we been on here? A couple hours? Yeah, I'm kind of in in between things. So we need to, but we're going to finish the Archer before we do move into something else. I think it'll look pretty good. I'm not going to order decals. You can go crazy ordering decals for shit. And the next thing you know, you're spending a fortune on shipping and stuff. So I'll figure out what. I think I am going to put a unit on there because they're just, the British things, they're Commonwealth decals, are just way too colorful not to have them on there. So I think I'm going to hand paint them on there. Might even make it Canadian, who knows? Little maple leaf. Okay, Steve, you guys have a good day too. Enjoy your Saturday. And we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.